When team insiders start voicing their frustration publicly, it's usually a sign the situation's spiraling, and Stefanski's latest call to bench Shedeur Sanders has cracked something wide open. From respected analysts to former players turned commentators, the tone is shifting from confusion to condemnation. Reports now suggest that the decision was less about X's and O's and more about narrative control, a bid to limit risk, protect status, and keep the reins tight. It's not just poor optics anymore. It's an indictment of a system that's seemingly stalling growth for the sake of hierarchy.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Beneath the media frenzy lies a high-stakes power struggle that could reshape Cleveland's future. Sanders represents more than raw talent. He's a test of whether this franchise is willing to evolve. If leadership continues to choose control over development, the consequences won't just hit the scoreboard. They'll fracture team unity, alienate fans, and potentially open the door for rival teams to swoop in. The next few weeks could determine not just who leads this team, but how it's led. The Cleveland Browns aren't just under fire. They're being incinerated by a controversy entirely of their own making. Shedeur Sanders was benched against the Dolphins. Again. And this time, it wasn't just another minor coaching choice flying under the radar. It triggered an explosion of criticism, speculation, and pure outrage. Analysts are torching the decision. Insiders are leaking locker room unrest. And fans? They're beyond done. Kevin Stefanski had a chance to control the narrative, to lean into growth, to show trust in a young quarterback with all the raw tools needed to lead this team into its next chapter. Instead, he shut the door. Shedeur stayed on the sidelines. And now, Cleveland is drowning in a mess that no one, not the coach, not the front office, seems willing to clean up. This wasn't just about game strategy. The Browns weren't trailing. They weren't out of reach. They had control. This was the kind of game where giving a rookie quarterback like Sanders a few drives would have been standard procedure. A moment to let him breathe NFL air, feel out the pace, and gain experience that matters. That's how development works. Except that's not what happened. Shedeur never touched the field. Not one snap. Not one handoff. Not even in garbage time when the game was firmly in Cleveland's hands. Stefanski didn't budge. And that decision, that stubborn refusal, turned what should have been a quiet afternoon into a full-blown franchise spectacle. Fans in the stands started chanting his name. Online discourse detonated. And sports media? They didn't hold back. Multiple insiders and analysts, people who've covered the league for years, openly questioned whether this was still about football or if it had become about something else entirely. Control, ego, narrative protection. That's what this now looks like. Because there's no world in which holding Sanders back this long, with opportunity staring you in the face, feels like pure football logic. This feels personal, calculated, strategic, but not in the smart sense. Strategic in the political sense. And that's where the heat really starts to build. Because when a team, especially one with a volatile quarterback history like the Browns, starts making quarterback decisions that don't pass the eye test, people pay attention. And right now, all eyes are on Cleveland, and none of them like what they're seeing. Let's break down what this really is, a developing power struggle. On one side, you have a head coach under pressure to maintain stability. On the other, you have a young, dynamic quarterback who represents change, new energy, new direction, new voice. If Sanders plays well, that spotlight shifts. Suddenly, it's not Stefanski's team anymore. Suddenly, the entire offensive dynamic changes. Suddenly, there are questions about why it took so long to give this kid a chance. And that seems to be the problem. The refusal to play Sanders isn't about his talent. It's not about readiness. It's about control. Keeping the team's narrative on lockdown. Protecting the structure that Stefanski has built, even if that structure is stifling progress. There's a reason so many insiders are suggesting this is less about scheme and more about status. That Stefanski is hesitant to give Sanders any significant playing time because he doesn't want to create momentum he can't stop. Once Shedeur gets a few reps, once the fans see him in action, there's no walking that back. And that seems to be the fear. But here's what that fear is costing Cleveland: credibility. The fans aren't confused. They know what's happening. They know talent when they see it. They've watched enough football to recognize when a player is being hidden, not protected. And they're not tolerating it anymore. The more Sanders sits, the more trust evaporates. Not just from the fan base, from inside the building. Reports have already started leaking about internal tension, disagreements over the quarterback direction, rumors of divides in the locker room. When young talent gets suppressed, and no one can justify it convincingly, that pressure cooker environment starts bubbling fast. And when a team's own players start asking, "What are we doing here?" that's when you've lost the room. If this was about performance, that would be one thing. But Dylan Gabriel hasn't exactly been untouchable. He's had flashes, sure, but he hasn't locked down this job in a way that justifies burying Sanders. And when a game is already won and the rookie still doesn't get a shot, that tells everyone everything they need to know. Shedeur's being benched for reasons that go beyond football, and it's showing. This whole situation is now spiraling toward a critical breaking point. You can feel it. The fans are louder. The media questions are sharper. And the whispers across the league are getting louder. Is Cleveland going to botch this so badly that Sanders looks for a way out? Because that's not a hypothetical anymore. There are already reports that other teams are watching closely. Teams that want a young quarterback to develop. Teams that would happily take Sanders and give him real reps, real mentorship, and real investment. And if Cleveland isn't careful, they're going to watch yet another talented quarterback walk out the door. Not because he could make it work, but because the team wouldn't let him. That's the real danger here. This isn't just about wasting a rookie year. It's about burning bridges with a player who could be the future. It's about turning a potential cornerstone into a cautionary tale. And the more this drags out, the more irreversible that damage becomes. Let's be honest. You don't recover from something like that. If Shedeur is traded and finds success elsewhere, and let's be clear, that's a real possibility, the backlash will haunt the Browns for years. It'll be another chapter in a long, painful book of what could have been, and it'll be entirely self-inflicted. That's why this moment matters so much. The next game, the next opportunity, the next injury scare, any of it could crack this open. And if Stefanski doubles down again, if he refuses once more to give Sanders reps when the game allows for it, that might be the last straw. At some point, even the front office has to step in, because this isn't sustainable. You can't build a franchise around fear. You can't develop talent from the sidelines. And you definitely can't keep telling fans you're committed to the future while actively hiding it from them. So what now? That's the question every Browns fan is asking. Do they finally pivot? Do they give Shedeur meaningful minutes in the next game, not just to please fans, but to build something? Or do they stay the course, risk everything, and keep praying that this story doesn't explode? Because right now it's already burning. Let us know what you think. Should Shedeur Sanders be starting? Has Stefanski lost the locker room? Are the Browns risking it all by refusing to embrace the obvious? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you're over the excuses. Share this with someone who's just as frustrated with this endless quarterback carousel. And subscribe, because if the saga keeps escalating, and it will, you won't want to miss a single twist. This is no longer just about a bench quarterback. This is about the unraveling of trust between a coach and his players, between a franchise and its fans, between what the Cleveland Browns say they stand for and what they actually do on the field. And the more Kevin Stefanski avoid the obvious, the more glaring it becomes. Let's call it what it is. Shedeur Sanders is being treated like a liability instead of an investment. And the longer that continues, the more it starts to feel like something is rotting at the core of this organization's decision-making. The Dolphins game was the spark. A quiet moment, a winnable game, a chance to rotate in young talent, a moment to experiment with zero risk. Instead, it became the moment that lit a firestorm. Because fans weren't expecting Shedeur to come in and throw for 300 yards. They weren't expecting miracles. All anyone wanted, was to see him on the field, to know that the organization believed in his future enough to give him one chance to take a live snap when the game was already wrapped. That didn't happen. And now, the fallout is compounding. The media is circling. Insiders are asking uncomfortable questions. Former players are pointing out the obvious. When a coach continues to bench a highly drafted quarterback without a clear explanation, it stops being about football and starts becoming about power. And make no mistake, that's what this is. A coach trying to protect his grip on the team by keeping control over the quarterback room. But control at what cost? Because right now, Stefanski's version of control is pushing fans away. It's raising eyebrows across the league. It's stalling the development of a player who, by all accounts, wants to lead, who's shown signs of poise, composure, and all the intangible qualities you look for in a future starter. And what's he being asked to do? Sit, watch, wait. Wait for what? The team to fall apart? The media pressure to die down? The locker room to give up? It's not going to happen. This situation isn't cooling off. It's accelerating. You got fans showing up in Sanders jerseys, chanting his name, flooding team posts with demands to play him. You got players reportedly grumbling behind closed doors, questioning why this decision doesn't reflect what they're seeing in practice. And you got other teams already scouting the situation, watching closely, waiting for Cleveland to do what Cleveland has tragically done before, lose the quarterback they couldn't figure out how to use. Because while the Browns are sitting on their hands, the rest of the NFL is preparing for the possibility that Shedeur might want out, that his patience won't last forever. And why should it? How long is he supposed to wait while the team continues to invest in a veteran who's not winning games decisively, not showing growth, and not giving the team a clear future? This isn't about Dylan Gabriel being bad. It's about the coaching staff choosing safe every single time, even when safe is what's holding them back. And the timing couldn't be worse. The Browns are in the thick of a season where every game matters. They've got a defense that can compete. They've got weapons on offense. The roster isn't broken. What's broken is a refusal to make the one change that might unlock the full potential of what this team could be. And that change is sitting on the bench. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to be a superstar today. He doesn't need to be perfect. But what he does need is an opportunity, not a PR opportunity. Not a quote in a press conference about how he's coming along. A real, tangible, live-game chance to prove what he can do. You don't develop quarterbacks by hiding them. You develop them by trusting them, by giving them the reps, by letting them make mistakes, grow from them, and lead through the fire. And if the Browns can't do that, if they keep stashing Sanders like some fragile asset that can't be exposed to sunlight, then why draft him at all? Because the optics now aren't just bad. They're damning. A team with a history of blowing quarterback situations is repeating the same cycle, step by painful step. Draft a QB, talk up the potential, sit him behind a safe veteran, refuse to play him in winnable games, let the pressure build, lose control of the narrative. Then, when the QB finally gets traded and succeeds elsewhere, rewrite history. We've seen this movie before. And Cleveland's playing the script word for word. The only difference now is the stakes are higher, because the Browns were supposed to be past this. Stefanski was supposed to be the steady hand, the culture changer, the coach who brought stability. Instead, he's stuck in survival mode, making the kind of short-term, fear-based decisions that sabotage long-term growth, protecting his own job security by clinging to a plan that clearly isn't working, or worse, refusing to admit the plan never existed in the first place. And the fans know it. That's what's so damaging here. You can't sell people on the future while deliberately ignoring it. You can't ask fans to be patient when you won't take the first step toward progress. You can't hype a quarterback prospect all offseason, then act like his development is some mystery that can't be solved until 2026. And it's not just fans losing trust. It's players too. Veterans want to win now. Younger guys want to grow together. No one in that locker room wants to be part of a slow-motion disaster unfolding in real time, where potentially franchise-altering quarterback is being wasted because of internal politics. And the longer this drags on, the more fractured that locker room becomes. That's the real risk here. Not just losing games, but losing the unity that teams spend years trying to build. Because once the players stop believing that merit matters, that reps are earned, that talent gets rewarded, the entire culture crumbles. And the Browns are flirting with that cliff right now. They've got one shot to right this. And it starts with honesty, with facing the reality that the current plan isn't working, that continuing to bench Sanders in these moments is doing more harm than good, that the only way forward is to give him a chance. Because if they don't, if Stefanski stays dug in, if the front office stays silent, if Sanders spends another game in a baseball cap watching the team sputter, then the fallout won't be quiet. It won't be containable. It will be loud, it will be public, and it will haunt the franchise for years. Fans will bail. Players will look elsewhere. Trade requests will stop being rumors and start being reality. And the Browns will have no one to blame but themselves. So what now? That's the question Cleveland can't run from any longer. There's no spin strong enough, no press conference long enough to explain away another week of inaction. The opportunity is still there, for now, but the window is narrow. And with every passing snap that doesn't go to Sanders, the pressure builds. Play him. Let him lead. Give him a chance to make mistakes, to grow, to show what the future could look like if you just get out of your own way. Or keep hiding behind the plan. Keep pretending this is about development. Keep burning time, chemistry, and goodwill until there's nothing left to salvage. The decision is Stefanski's for now, but if he keeps choosing fear over faith, that decision won't be his to make much longer. Let's be real. If the Browns go into another game without giving Shedeur Sanders a single snap, this won't just be a coaching controversy anymore. It'll be a full-on indictment of the entire organizational philosophy. You can't claim to be a team that's building for the future while keeping your most promising young quarterback in a permanent holding pattern. You can't ask a fan base to trust your vision when every decision you make says you don't even have one. And you definitely can't sell development while actively refusing to, develop. It's one thing to bring a rookie along slowly. That's standard. That's fine. But this isn't a slow build. This is a shutdown, a lockdown, a flat-out refusal to test the waters, even when the stakes are low. And that's not just cautious, it's cowardly. Let's talk about the optics. You had a game in the palm of your hands against the Dolphins. The score wasn't close. The outcome was never in doubt. And your defense handled business. That's the exact moment when any smart coaching staff would say, all right, let's see what the kids got. But instead of taking that opportunity, Stefanski pulled the plug before the engine could even start. Not a single play. Not a single handoff. Sanders was locked out of the game entirely. And for what? Because if you ask Stefanski, the response is always the same. We're sticking to our plan. Let's unpack that. What plan? A secret 18-month incubation period where Sanders doesn't touch a football until he achieves spiritual enlightenment? Is that the plan? Because if it is, it's not working, and it's not fooling anyone. Every week Shedeur stays on the bench, the questions get sharper. Every week he's denied reps, the tension grows. Every week the coaches act like this is normal. They lose another chunk of trust from the players, from the fans, from the football world at large. Because development doesn't happen in the shadows. It happens under pressure. It happens in real time, with real opponents and real stakes. That's how you grow a quarterback. Not by bubble wrapping him. Not by pretending you're protecting him from the bright lights, when really, you're just protecting your own narrative. And that's the part that has people fired up. This isn't about Sanders not being ready. It's about Stefanski not being ready. Not ready to deal with the questions. Not ready to manage a QB transition. Not ready to admit that the safe plan might actually be the riskiest option of all. Because keeping Sanders benched doesn't just waste his rookie season. It's threatening the team's chemistry. And no amount of locker room slogans or carefully curated press conferences can hide that fact. People notice when politics start to override performance. People notice when coaches stop making football decisions and start making narrative decisions. And that kind of leadership, it doesn't hold up for long, especially not in a city like Cleveland, with a fan base that's already lived through every possible version of quarterback dysfunction. They've seen the overhyped busts, the one-year stopgaps, the bad fits, the good ones who got away. They've lived through it all. And now, when it finally seems like the team has a guy worth building around, the coach won't even give him a chance. So what's the end game here? Wait until the season slips out of reach before you finally hand him the reins? Hope Gabriel can tread water long enough to delay the inevitable? Sit on your franchise QB until the headlines get so loud you're forced to play him? Because by then, the damage might already be done. Let's not forget, the longer this drags on, the more appealing other teams start to look. There are franchises right now that would roll out the red carpet for Sanders. That would start him, build around him, invest in his future instead of hiding it. And don't think his camp isn't aware of that. Don't think Shedeur isn't doing the math. He's watching. And every time Stefanski picks safe over smart, it sends a message. It says, you're not part of the real plan. You're a backup storyline we don't want to deal with yet. And no quarterback, no matter how team first, no matter how patient, is going to stay quiet forever if that's how they're being treated. So where does that leave Cleveland? With a head coach gripping the steering wheel so tight, he's veering off the road. With a fan base that's past the boiling point. And with a quarterback controversy that isn't just brewing, it's erupting. And all of it was avoidable. Give the kid a chance. Give the fans something to believe in. Give the locker room a reason to buy into the future again. Or don't. Keep kicking the can down the road, pretending this isn't a crisis. But just know, if you do, you're not just risking a quarterback. You're risking the entire culture you claimed you were trying to build. Let us know how you're feeling about this. Should Shedeur Sanders start now? Is this a development strategy or a disaster in disguise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you're fed up with the excuses, smash that like, share it with someone who's been yelling about this for weeks, and make sure to subscribe. Because with the Browns, there's always more chaos waiting around the corner.